Thank you for joining me. My name's Lauren. I am the Lolo behind lolodidit, a hand-dyed yarn business in Central Kentucky. And I'm coming to you today to show you a short tutorial on how to get a skein of yarn that looks like this into a ball of yarn that looks like this, or a cake as many people call it. So I'll get started. First thing you want to do is take off this tag that somebody has put on this so lovingly, but I just rip it. It's okay. Then you're going to put it into a circle. So you're going to undo the bottom of this, let it go into a circle, and usually it will just open up on its own into these loops so that it is one continuous circle of yarn. It is beautiful. So what we're going to do is look at the ties. Now, most yarn companies will have multiple ties on the yarn. These ties are meant to keep the skein in order and easy to twist up and to put into a ball. And so having multiple ties is important. All of our yarn here at lolodidit has 3 ties on it. One of the ties has 4 strings. It's got a tie around the skein, and it's got the start and the stop of the yarn. So you'll see 4 strings. And then the other 2 are strings that are just ties loosely around the yarn, like that. And so these ties are important because when you are getting ready to put your yarn on your Swift, you're going to want to make sure that the strings of your yarn are going in the right direction, so they are within these ties and not somewhere outside of the ties or going in a different direction. So if something was going in a different direction, the yarn would be like that, and you would see how this tie is bent, like it doesn't quite go up with the rest of the tie. So when you pull on the tie, you see that string coming with it. That means that string is going in the wrong direction. So you're going to put it back into the correct direction. So as much as every single yarn dyer, I'm sure, is concerned about tangled yarn and wanting you to have the best experience possible, we are all still human. And so sometimes yarn is going in the wrong direction when you receive it. Not often, but it can happen. And so you want to make sure that you check that before you're putting it on the Swift. You can also untwist it and accidentally grab yarn from the wrong side while you're untwisting it. So it's not necessarily from the dyer or from the mill. It can just be when you're untwisting it, or even when it comes in the package. You know how sometimes the bottom of that yarn is undone. So you just want to make sure that it's going in the right direction before you put it on the Swift. And I also like to make sure that it's nice and flat. So I kind of wiggle it around on my hands and my wrist to make sure that that yarn is nice and flat and straight. So just like you with your hair, it is nice to have your hair all going in the right direction before you put it into whatever style it is. It's the same thing with yarn. Having it all go in the right direction just makes things easier. And so you're going to do the same thing. And I like making it nice and flat, and then I put it directly on the Swift. Now, I personally like this type of Swift. This is called an Amish style Swift, and it's just wooden, and it crisscrosses and it links together in the middle with a little peg in the middle, and it just turns. It is the easiest. It's the most user-friendly. I know a lot of people start out with those umbrella Swifts, but because the tension of the yarn isn't always consistent on the umbrella Swift, or sometimes it will fall a little bit while you're caking up your yarn, it's important to keep everything consistent as possible, and so sometimes those umbrella Swifts don't do that. And there's tons of other Swifts out there. This isn't by any means the best or anything like that. It's just what I prefer and what I like and what I find easiest. So I will put the links in the description below for both the Swift and the ball winder, so that you can see what they are. They're both available on Amazon, and like I said, the links are below. Those are affiliate links, so if you do like these, if you could use those, that would be awesome. So this is how I put it on the Swift. See how it's still nice and flat? The only thing that I would change is the yarn is a little loose. See how it's kind of floppy on the Swift? I want to make it a little bit more taut. So not so taut that these pegs, these dowel rods are like pushing inward. You don't want it to be that tight. That doesn't allow any movement of the yarn. But you also don't want it to be loose, because then when you are caking up your yarn, sometimes those loose sections will create strings at the bottom of your cake. So you'll see these little loops kind of like poking out of the bottom of your cake. I know you know what I'm talking about if you've caked any yarn before. That's what happens when your tension is too loose. That's either the consistency of you spinning your handle, or it's that this is a little bit too loose on your Swift. So I like creating it a little bit more taut. So I'm just going to back up by one peg of this, and see how that's just like a little bit less floppy, but it still has movement in the yarn, so the yarn can move through that. All right, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to cut off these strings. So when I am teaching everyone here at lolodidit, I always say, no, don't cut your yarn, okay? You do not want to get close enough with your scissors to accidentally snip your yarn, because then you're going to have a nightmare with balling it up, and you'll have several little balls of yarn. It's just not a pleasant experience, and the reason I know is because I've done it to myself. So everybody makes mistakes. But I tell them, grab your string, and you're always going to start with the strings that only have 2 strings in them, not the one that has the start and the stop of the skein. So the one that has the start and the stop usually has 4 strings in it. So I start with 2 strings, and we cut as close to the knot as possible, which gets our scissors pretty far away from our yarn, so we're not cutting it. So I just cut that knot off, and then you can pull out this tie really easily. There should be another one. So in my skeins anyways, there's 2 strings and then 1 of the start and the stop. But every indie dyer is different, and there's different mills that do things differently. So just check your skein. So I'm cutting close to the knot, not by my yarn. And then pulling this string out. And then the last one is the one that has both the start and the stop to the yarn, and it has the string going around it. So I'm going to cut that knot one more time. I'm going to remove the string. So if you see on this one, see how it's like creating a cross over the yarn. So I'm just going to remove that string. And then you will have your start of your yarn and the stop of your yarn. One string is going to be pulling from the outside. See how this is pulling from the outside? And one string is pulling from the inside. So see how this one is on the inside of my Swift. That's why you want to make sure that this is nice and flat when you start out, because it'll make it easier while you're turning your Swift. So this one, let's see, how is this going? This one's start is kind of in the middle. So see how this is kind of like difficult to pull? So I'm actually going to, this is actually a great example. I'm actually going to flip this, because my other string that's on the inside is easy to pull. So I'm going to flip this around so that my outside string is now on the inside. So this is a good example of how sometimes yarn, you're just going to have to work with it to make it easier to ball up your yarn. So now see how it's all flat again? I just twisted it so that this string is on the outside, so I can pull easily from my Swift. See how that works? Isn't that nice? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to create some space. So I'm going to create space in between my Swift and my ball winder. And I'll grab that yarn, grab the end of it, and I'm going to put this through the eye of my ball winder. Now this ball winder is a Stanwood. It is fantastic. I love it because I don't have to turn my arm every single time I'm winding the ball. This has a ratio on it so that the ball is winding faster than your arm is moving. I love that. So I'm going to put this here. Some ball winders have 2 eyes. Some have just 1. So I've got that going there. And then my little trick, I'm going to show you. I'll be right back. My trick that I've learned over the years is that sometimes this string that is in the middle of the ball winder comes loose. And then I can't find the middle of the ball, and I like pulling from the center of the ball. So I get a little piece of tape, and I tape that right in the center. And I have been doing this for years. I don't like hunting for the string, so might as well put a little piece of tape. Who doesn't have a piece of tape around? So I just put it down there, and then that creates a really good experience for me. And also, I'm not hunting for it, and it's easier. It doesn't come loose while I'm trying to get the ball started. So the next thing I do is I make sure that my yarn is coming at approximately the same height as the eye on the ball winder. I do this by making sure my swift and my ball winder are on the same level of the table. And I also use my left hand. I'm a righty, so I'm going to be spinning with my right hand. But I also keep my hand kind of at that same level of holding that yarn in the right level so that it doesn't creep up on this ball winder and create any weird tension. Because, again, remember I was talking about those little strings at the bottom of the ball? That's what creates those messy balls, and then everything kind of just doesn't pull out right. So if that's important to you, tension, direction, the level, and making sure that everything is nice and neat. Because if you start out well, generally it's going to end well. So I'm going to start here. So I am not putting any tension on this yarn. I'm just holding it in my hand. I've got see how I've got like a hole there. It's just another way of controlling the yarn and controlling the tension. So I'm going to start and keep going. Now this one is creating us problems. There we go. And it's just because the end string, this end string is twisted somehow. So when they tied it together at the mill, they twisted it inside of other strings of yarn, and that's what creates that pull. But generally it works itself out after a few spins. There we go. And you want to keep this as even and as steady as possible, because if your swift starts going faster than your ball winder, than your arm is winding, then your tension on your yarn will create weird loops in your ball. And did you see, if your yarn gets snagged, it kind of creates weird tension? That's what my left hand is for, is to hold it so that it doesn't create weird tension from anything that the swift is doing. And this is all there is to it. You don't have to go super fast. I know some of you guys are like, let me win the race, but I'm more of a let me get the ball wound correctly the first time, because ball winding is not my favorite thing to do. I actually usually bribe Ruben to do it because it's not something that I enjoy doing. Ruben, if you are watching this, thank you so much for winding so many balls here at lolodidit. I love it. I'm so thankful, because it's not my favorite thing. But this Boujee Banshee, it looks so beautiful in this ball, and I love it. So I will skip to the end for you so you don't have to watch me do the entire thing. Now that we finished winding this, we're going to take off this tape and pull that string out of the center. The other end is going to be wrapped around and tucked in to the ball. And now I'm just going to pull this off the center while making sure that this string stays on the outside. There we go. Perfect ball of yarn. Add no weird strings down here to catch us up or to prevent us from having a good experience in our knitting. Beautiful. I love it. Well, there you have it. A beautiful cake for knitting joy to come. And I hope this video was so helpful to you. Thank you for joining me. I hope you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye.